lot of questions about your departure.
Yes.
We don't want to talk all that much about that, but I want to clarify one thing.
Yes.
It's been said, you have said, and others speaking on your behalf to other organizations have said, one reason you wanted to go was you thought it was wrong for Mr. Trump to be engaged in a fight with Megyn Kelly, and with Fox he should be focusing on his message, and that other people in the campaign didn't see it that way. Everyone I talk to in the campaign says exactly what you say, and they say it's basically that's what Mr. Trump has chosen to do. Were you, in fact, a lonely voice on that issue?
Well, I didn't hear any other voices, but I'm really not going to divulge my internal conversations. I have a confidentiality agreement, and I have no intention of violating it. So my private advice to Trump will remain private. I have said that I thought that the whole thing was a distraction, that a back and forth with any media person.
But as best I can tell from my reporting, the responsibility / blame for that lies with Donald Trump, not with any of the other advisors.
Well, but I'm not sure that I heard anybody else giving him advice that wasn't a good idea, never mind what my own advice was. Politics, as you know, is particularly at the presidential level, is about big picture ideas and getting people to latch on to them with memorable phrases. And I think that's what's gotten Trump to where he is in the polls, and I think it's what he needs to return to. And then, as I'm sure you heard, I was also think that he was ill-served by whoever leaked the fact that he had a conversation with former President Bill Clinton, which was a private conversation. I don't think it was political, but I don't know. Bill is the kibitzer-in-chief. He loves politics. He can't help, giving you his 2 cents whether you want it or not. I do recall that 3 years ago, when Trump was contemplating a run, Bill Clinton was among those who told him he should run as an independent, that the country was ready for it. Trump rejected that advice, and he remained focused at that time on the Republican nomination, ultimately decided not to run and to endorse Romney. So, as you know, among Republican primary voters, Bill Clinton is the devil. And therefore, it gives rise to all kinds of crazy conspiracy theories. The Clintons maneuvering Trump. Nobody maneuvers Trump, I assure you.
Roger, you remain not an advisor anymore to Donald Trump, but you remain a supporter of Donald Trump. And I know you are confident that there's a way in which he could win the Republican nomination. Can he win the Republican nomination with the team he currently has, or does he need to change up that team and hire more people like you?
Well, he needs to expand that team. He's got some very good people. I think Mike Glassner, who unfairly gets constantly in the media as a Palin guy, and he did work for Governor Palin, who I like. But he's really a Dole guy, and he's got one of the best Rolodexes in the Republican Party because of his long service to my political mentor, Bob Dole. The first job I had in Washington, D.C. was working for Bob Dole on Capitol Hill. So I think Glassner's a perfect example of the kind of people he needs, but you cannot run a presidential campaign on a skeletal basis. It's got to be a larger operation, just the challenge of getting on the ballot in all 50 states. So that if you are lucky and you strike fire in one of the early primaries, you're in a position to capitalize on it. Otherwise, you end up like Gary Hart. You're hot, but there's no place to go.
Do you have a specific recommendation for some people he should bring on?
If I did, they would be private between us.
Okay.
I'm not an employment agency for other political consultants.
You've been involved in presidential politics for a long time. You worked for Ronald Reagan. You told me before we started that you flew up to Albany to file Reagan's petitions on Mr. Trump's plane that he lent you to do that.
Well, I didn't fly myself, but he allowed us to use his plane to fly our petitions. The New York ballot process was far more onerous then than it is now.
Still pretty onerous. So you've been involved in politics for a long time. I'm just wondering, tell me best case. Let's say Mr. Trump starts to do better along the lines you think, or just continues to be solid in the polls, leading nationally, doing well. Can he win Iowa? Can he win New Hampshire?
Certainly he can win all those places, but he needs a campaign to do it, and he needs to stick to the basic message that's gotten him to #1 in the polls. He's already made history in his campaign. I mean, as you know, most pundits said he wouldn't really run. This was all a publicity stunt to build the brand, and he was just teasing as he did 3 years ago and 16 years ago and so on. They've been proven wrong. Then they said he'll never file his financials. No way. He'll keep filing for extensions, but he'll never really file. It turns out Jeb Bush is the guy who files for extensions, and Trump files on time. and full disclosure. So the pundits have been consistently wrong about him. He's a larger-than-life figure. He has, I think, his greatest strength is the ability to get everyone's attention. Now the question is, what does he do with that attention when he gets it?
Whatever his net worth is, and he claims it's about $10 billion. Others think it's about $4 billion or $5 billion. Whatever that is, let's say he is liquid to the tune of $350 million or so. Is he willing to spend that money on this? Has he demonstrated a willingness? Has he spoken of a willingness to spend that liquid cash on this campaign?
Well, you could argue on the one hand that you have to spend $100 million and you can't do this as a free media exercise. On the other hand, just proving that the conventional wisdom proves wrong again, that's exactly what he's done. He has not spent that much based on the last FEC report I saw, but he is leading in the polls. There will come a day when he is facing paid television advertising. It's interesting if you look at the survey research that in all of these polls where he has performed extremely well, his greatest gains were among those 59 to 70. Those are the people, particularly in the South. Those people are inside watching television in the summertime. So when Jeb unloads his $100 million of dirty Wall Street money in negative advertising, or one of the other candidates, who knows, he's going to have to compete at that level, in my opinion.
You mentioned Jeb Bush. Besides Mr. Trump, who do you think can be nominated at this point? Who's the universe of people who could win the nomination?
This race is completely wide open. I mean, there's
Huckabee be nominated?
Sure, he could.
Could be. Cruz?
Could be.
Rand Paul?
Could be.
Bush, Walker, you think it's that wide open?
I think it's exceedingly.
Pataki? Could Pataki be nominated?
Well, let's not get carried away.
All right, so you think basically 9 or 10 people could be nominated at this point?
Probably, yes.
Yeah. And is Trump the favorite?
He is the favorite today.
If Donald Trump were hit by a bus tomorrow, and that 20 to 25% of the Republican electorate that's for him right now were up for grabs, who among those people you just mentioned would be in the best position to inherit his support?
Well, if you look at both the public and private surveys, the second choice of the Trump supporters tends to be Ted Cruz, tends to be Rand Paul. Very little crossover to the establishment candidates like Chris Christie and Jeb Bush. So I think it redistributes among the conservatives. What's very interesting is Trump, the non-politician, a lot of his second choice voters go to Ben Carson, the non-politician.
Right.
Those are the two standouts in this race.
Take us inside the mind of Donald J. Trump. Let me just ask you this first question. Who does he listen to? Does he listen to his family? Does he listen to his wife? Does he listen to Ivanka? Who are the voices that he turns to when he has to make big decisions?
I think he definitely listens to his wife. His wife is a terrific person, speaks 7 languages, terrific mother, and a real strong supporter and very much in favor of this candidacy. I think a deciding factor. She finally said, Donald, you talk about saving the country and how upset you are about the direction of the country. You talk about running, you should run.
When was that?
Beginning of the year. I think she's a very, very solid. She's a great woman.
Does he take political advice from Ivanka?
I can't speak to whether I'm not privy to those conversations. I do think that she's a great executive and a great leader in her own way. She's doing a great job with those companies. He certainly respects Ivanka, and she respects him.
In terms of his decision-making, how does he differ from other candidates you've worked with?
He's a reader. He is a studier. He thinks about things. But he doesn't have a bunch of cronies, if that's what you mean. I mean, does he like Rudy Giuliani? Yes. Are they close? Yes. Would Rudy's opinion matter to him? Yeah, I think he values the mayor's opinion. But Trump is very much his own man. He is unlike anybody else I've ever worked for. Unscripted, uncoached, unhandled. I mean, he makes the decisions. He'll consider anything you want to give him, anything you want to tell him. He's very accessible, but he's very much his own man.
I want to, again, just try to understand him. I'm not asking you to criticize him, praise him, just explain him because you've known him for so long. I have experienced, and I know many people have experienced him as one of the kindest people they've ever met. Just lovely, hail fel, well met, very interested in people. And yet at times he lashes out at people with a ferocity and a negativity that's quite striking. How do you explain the yin and yang of that?
Well, first of all, I think he loves campaigning, and you can see it. He loves people. He's having the time of his life. He likes these campaign trips. Contrast that with, say, Jeb Bush, who looks like he is slogging through it and just wants it to be over.
So how do you go from that happy warrior to you're a jerk, you're an idiot?
Because in business, particularly in the Manhattan real estate world, it's a dog-eat-dog world, and therefore one of Trump's maxims that I happen to agree with is, somebody hits you, hit them back, but harder. That's fine if you're a pop culture figure. It might be fine if you're a Manhattan real estate developer, a celebrity TV host. But this is a different realm, and I think he will recognize that over time.
He is prone to ebullience and sometimes says things that are not 100% strictly speaking true. In his announcement speech, he said, you can't find a Chevy in China. He said the gross domestic product was below zero, right?
Oh, it's rhetoric.
The other thing, yeah, it's rhetoric. The other thing he does often is he exaggerates a little bit. So if there are 5,000 people in the room, there are 15,000 people, and it's always the biggest crowd that's ever been in any given place. For most normal politicians, they would get called out on that, and that would become a problem for their credibility. Will he just keep doing that? And if he will keep doing it, how long can he get away with it?
Well, first of all, I think he's a great salesman, and part of that is salesmanship. Does anyone really care if there were 800 people at the rally or 1,500 people at the rally?
Well, for Al Gore, people cared when he exaggerated things.
Pardon me?
When Al Gore exaggerated things, it was an
well, but I don't
undoing
think
of his
Donald
campaign
Trump has ever said that he invented the internet. So, I mean, the assessment of the crowd size versus I invented the internet, I don't see the correlation.
But he does these things over and over again, right? And clearly, I mean, that's part of his self-promotional capacity.
A promoter.
But again, will he? Do you think he'll ever come a time where that will become a problem for him, or will he just continue to skate past it?
I think he pretty much skates past it because the only guys that are trying to play the gotcha game are in the media. The voters don't care about that. The voters are interested in the larger picture. Look, the country needs a cheerleader. The country needs a salesman. The country needs somebody who will lead. That's the problem with Jeb Bush that I think Trump himself has identified when he says, look, the guy's a stiff. The country needs a cheerleader.
One of the few times I've ever heard him express self-doubt about anything was when John and I interviewed him a couple months ago, and we asked him, will you stay in this race to the end? And he said, you know what, if I'm not doing well and it doesn't look good, I'll get out. Does he think now that he's going to be the next president of the United States, or is he still thinking maybe this won't work out?
Well, he's not a fool, and he's not a man to throw good money after bad. On the other hand, I think that's a perfectly acceptable view. I'll get in and see how it's going. Well, he got in, and it's going very well.
But
well.
As you know, some people run say, I'm going to be the next president of the United States. Others say, we'll see. Where is he?
I think he's optimistic. The last time I spoke to him, prior to my resignation, and I did resign, he was optimistic. He is an optimist by nature, something he and Reagan have in common, beyond just seeing the big picture and being larger than life in themselves. I think he's very optimistic. By anybody's measure, this is going exceedingly well. He has yet to spend $1 on paid media. Right. Those, and I was among them, who said, look, after you become a candidate, it's possible that your free media coverage is going to drop off because, they need to cover the
dumbest thing I ever heard you say.
Right, and I was completely wrong about that because the conventional rules of politics, so far at least, do not apply to Donald Trump, and it's an exciting thing.
I know you think he should continue to threaten to possibly run as an independent candidate in order to keep leverage against the Republican establishment. And he says, as long as I'm respected, I won't do it. What would constitute sufficient disrespect in Donald Trump's mind
well, let's say,
to not to run as
the
an
other
independent?
four leading candidates? The New York Times reported that the other three of the other leading candidates considered boycotting this debate if Trump were there. Having studied the ballot access rules in 15 states, maybe it's 19, the Republican establishment can keep you off the ballot with the stroke of a pen, or in this case, not including your name. So he said over and over again on the stump, if he's given a fair shot, if he has a level playing field, if the establishment doesn't try to gang up on him, of course he wants to run as a Republican. He's the front runner for the Republican nomination as of this moment. But I wouldn't give up that leverage because I think there's a war room at the Republican National Committee of guys who sit around and say, what can we do today to try to derail Donald Trump? The ruling class is pissing their pants here. This guy is a challenge to the two-party duopoly that is running the government.
Now that we have gotten in you stroking your chin and talking about urination, that brings this interview to a close.